My name is Aurélie Vasseur. I'm 28 and I work as a skilled software engineer in Paris. From the outside, my life looked like a flawless painting, perfect career, elegant apartment, a steady rhythm of achievements. But beneath that polished surface, my world was anything but serene. It was a private drama, a tangled web of family betrayal where those I should have been able to trust most turned against me. The very people meant to protect and love me became sources of pain and disillusionment. This is my story, a journey from heartbreak to liberation, from shadows into light. A tale of finding strength when everything around you seems to crumble. If you're still listening, we want to sincerely thank you for spending your time with us. Truly means a lot. We'd love to know, where in the world are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments and let's see how far this message has reached. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, I highly recommend doing it now so you won't miss any of our upcoming stories. These aren't just ordinary stories, they're filled with meaningful life lessons that can inspire, teach, and stay with you long after the video ends. Hit that subscribe button and join our growing community. Everything began in the autumn of 2023, the kind of autumn where the leaves fall in fiery bursts against a pale Paris sky, and yet I was confined to the sterile, humming world of an ICU. I lay in that hospital bed, each breath a monumental effort, my body ravaged by a severe pneumonia that had escalated into sepsis. 28, I was staring down the stark line between life and death. The doctors were brutally honest. The first 72 hours would determine everything. I reached for my phone, a thin lifeline to the outside world, and dialed my family, my mother, Vivienne, my father, Étienne, and my sister, Célestine, all living only 2 hours away in Lyon. I assumed they would rush to my side, that love would demand their presence in those terrifying hours. But the world had other plans. Instead of their voices, I received a text from my mother. "Sorry, darling, we're at the airport. Our trip to Nice was already booked. We'll visit when we return." Nice? I had never heard of this trip. The days that followed were a blur of pain, beeping monitors, and the faint taste of antiseptic. My phone became my only window to the outside, a digital mirror of a life I had been forced to watch from the ICU. Célestine's Instagram overflowed with sunlit beaches, shimmering cocktails by the pool, and dinners beneath the golden embrace of the setting sun. My mother's Facebook was plastered with selfies in her new swimsuit, captioned, "Living my dream life at 50." My father posted photos of himself on the golf course, hashtags like #ParadiseLife, #GoldenYears. No one mentioned me, the daughter fighting for every shallow breath in a hospital bed. On the third day, my fever finally began to recede, and I was lucid enough to type a message into the family group chat. "I'm feeling slightly better, but I'm still very weak. Can anyone come? I'm scared and lonely." An hour later, my mother replied, cold and practical. "Don't overdo it, Aurélie. You can message, so you're fine. If you want us to come, pay for the plane tickets and reimburse the holiday." I read it again. And again. I couldn't believe it. But Célestine's reply was worse. "Haha, Mom's right. You always love the attention. Maybe you'll be interesting if you die." She added a laughing emoji, as if it were a joke. I screenshotted both messages, feeling a strange, shattering clarity, an awakening rather than pain. In that moment, a part of me died inside, replaced by a cold, sharp awareness of reality. My family had always seen me as a money machine. Responsible, hardworking, disciplined, I had earned scholarships, juggled multiple jobs, and by 28, I was making 6 figures at a leading tech company. Meanwhile, Célestine dropped out of school to become a social media influencer, with barely 700 followers. My parents had retired early at 50 and 52, living on dwindling savings and my generosity. For the past 2 years, I had been paying their mortgage, covering Célestine's car loans, even financing my mother's urgent cosmetic surgery with 20,000 euros. And now I realized the trip to Nice? I had unwittingly funded that too. Lying in that hospital bed, surrounded by the constant beep of machines, I finally had the time to think. To reflect. To plan. I opened my laptop, logging into my bank accounts, and began to cancel all automatic transfers to my family. Mortgage payments for their house? Cancelled. Car loans for my sister? Cancelled. Credit cards they used for gas, groceries, luxuries? Reported as lost. I called my financial advisor, Margot, instructing her to remove my parents and Célestine from all beneficiary lists and set up emergency account locks. Then I contacted my lawyer, Julien, to revoke any powers of attorney and revise my inheritance plans. Aurélie, are you sure about this? Julien asked, his voice low, cautious. Never more sure, I replied, my fingers trembling over the keyboard but my mind resolute. I didn't stop there. Foolishly, I had previously co-signed loans, credit cards, and even joint property agreements for my family when their own credit wasn't sufficient. Now I withdrew entirely. Electricity, water, phone service, everything I had stood as a guarantor for was being shut off. Car insurance for the entire household? Terminated. And regarding the house, I requested the bank remove my name from the mortgage. If my parents couldn't cover it, they would have to sell. The bank, aware of my recent health crisis, agreed immediately, respecting my need to protect my financial future. Meanwhile, my family continued their digital performances. Célestine posted videos of a couple's massage with some guy she had met at the resort. My mother flaunted gourmet meals and luxury cocktails online. My father showed off golf outings. And me? I lay alone, 7 kilograms lighter in a hospital bed after 7 grueling days, watching the life I built for them vanish. But clarity emerged from the chaos. For the first time, I saw the truth. My care, my money, my sacrifices had not bought love or loyalty. They had bought entitlement, indifference, and cruelty. And now I was ready. I began mapping every financial safeguard, every legal avenue, every tool that could finally sever the toxic chains. The same body that had fought for breath now began to fight for autonomy, dignity, and justice. I realized something else too: anger alone wouldn't save me. I had to act with precision, with foresight, with strategy. The ICU had taught me patience and endurance. Now I would wield those lessons in the real world. Each message, each Instagram post, each callous laugh from my family fueled a meticulous plan of liberation. Not revenge for its own sake, but a reclaiming of life, of self-worth, of freedom from the very people who were meant to nurture me. As I drifted into fitful sleep in the sterile hospital room, the machine still humming softly, I felt the first sparks of empowerment. The child who once believed in unconditional familial love was gone. In her place stood Aurélie Vasseur, the daughter, the provider, the engineer, the survivor, ready to build her own world, brick by brick, bite by bite. The hospital was no longer just a prison of illness. It had become the crucible in which I forged the courage to break free. I opened my laptop, hands trembling slightly, and logged into my bank account. One by one, I began canceling all automatic transfers to my family. Mortgage payments for their house? Cancelled. My father's car loan? Cancelled. Credit cards they used for everything from gas to groceries? Reported lost. Each click felt like a weight lifting from my shoulders, even as my chest tightened with the residual exhaustion from the ICU. I called my financial advisor, Margot, instructing her to remove my parents and Célestine from all beneficiary lists and to activate emergency holds on every account. Then I contacted my lawyer, Julien, to revoke my parents' powers of attorney and amend my will. Aurélie, are you certain about this? Julien asked cautiously over the phone, his voice a mix of concern and disbelief. Never been more certain, I said firmly, the clarity in my words surprising even me. But I didn't stop there. Foolishly, I had once co-signed loans, credit cards, and even a joint mortgage for my family when their credit wasn't sufficient. Now I withdrew everything. Electricity, water, phone service, everything I had kept active in their name was cut off. Car insurance? Terminated. And as for the house, I demanded the bank remove my name from the mortgage entirely. If my parents couldn't pay, the house would have to be sold. The bank agreed immediately after I explained my health crisis and the need to protect my financial future. The world that had once demanded I sacrifice for them was finally held at bay by my own decisions. Meanwhile, the digital world carried on without me. Celestine's Instagram continued to overflow with vacation clips, videos of her enjoying a couple's massage with some guy she had met at the resort, laughing like life was a perfect dream. My mother uploaded pictures of extravagant meals, expensive wines, and sunshine-soaked beaches. My father posted shots of himself on the golf course, captions dripping with pride. Retirement life at its finest. And me? I lay alone, 7 kilograms lighter after 7 punishing days in the hospital, watching a life I had funded for them play out like a mocking film. When I was finally discharged, I returned to my small Paris apartment, ordering my favorite soup and sinking into the comfort of my own space, feeling the faint hum of autonomy surrounding me. But peace was short-lived. Precisely 6:47 p.m., my phone rang. My mother's panicked voice came through. "Aurélie, the credit card isn't working, it was declined at the restaurant." I answered calmly, almost too calmly. "That's strange. Maybe you should call the bank." By the way, I reported the card lost while I was in the ICU because I noticed someone using it. Silence followed, a brief pause where I could almost hear the gears of panic turning on her end. Then she screamed, "Aurélie Vasseur, fix the card immediately. We're stuck in Nice and have no money." I replied evenly, my voice like ice. "I thought the family was paying for this trip themselves," and then hung up. Célestine called immediately after, her voice shrill with anger. "You crazy girl! You've left us stranded." I answered with chilling detachment. "Ask your new boyfriend, the one in the massage video." Click. She hung up. Then my father called, attempting the voice of reason, the tone of a man trying to mend the unrepairable. "There must be some misunderstanding, Aurélie. We'll explain everything when we return." I cut him off without hesitation. "There is no misunderstanding. You chose a vacation over your daughter. Alive with your choice." Somehow they made it back. Célestine managed to borrow money from the Instagram boyfriend. My parents used an old credit card and they returned to Paris, but the reality was inescapable. No electricity. No water. A notice of impending foreclosure hung over their heads, set to take effect in 3 days. Célestine came to my apartment, tears streaming, sobbing. "I was drunk when I sent those messages. I didn't mean it." I looked at her, a calm fury simmering beneath the surface. "The message about me dying to be interesting, was that also accidental?" She tried to avoid my gaze. I gently but firmly guided her to the door. "Leave. Now." My mother performed her usual theater, tears flowing, hands clasped, insisting she had been worried sick about me. Yet 50 posts about the vacation on Facebook told a different story, a visual proof of their indifference. My father, rationalizing and pleading, argued that losing the house would ruin them. I replied coldly, "You should have thought of that before asking me to pay for your vacation while I was in ICU." And still they did not stop. Calls kept coming, a relentless barrage, 20 to 30 calls a day. When I blocked one number, another appeared. Friends' phones, public lines, even the hotel where they had temporarily relocated. They tried everything: anger, pleading, threats of self-harm. My mother went so far as to report me to the Elder Protection Agency, claiming I was exploiting them financially. I met with the social worker, armed with every piece of evidence I had collected, screenshots of cruel messages, vacation posts, and a detailed timeline of events. After reviewing everything, she concluded, "This is not abuse. This is boundary setting." Case was dismissed. Tension peaked when they attempted to infiltrate my workplace. My parents, using deceit to bypass security, cornered me in the lobby. "Aurélie, just 5 minutes." My father begged. "I am your daughter, you can't abandon us." My mother yelled, I remained calm and precise. These people are harassing me. Remove them immediately. Security complied. The incident was captured on video, circulating among my colleagues. Shock turned into support. They dubbed it the day Aurélie's family was escorted from the lobby. Célestine, ever desperate, posted on Instagram attempting to frame me as unstable, needing family intervention. Backfired spectacularly. Friends and co-workers recounted the hospital ordeal, showing evidence of her posts and my messages, turning public opinion firmly in my favor. Post was eventually deleted, but I had already documented it all, a digital archive of their manipulation. Through it all, I learned that power does not always come from wealth or status, it comes from clarity, courage, and the refusal to be exploited. I realized that the very people who should have nurtured me had trained me in endurance and strategy instead, albeit unintentionally. Every cruel message, every vacation post, every desperate call was a lesson in self-preservation and assertive action. I also discovered a strange liberation in setting these boundaries. It was terrifying, yes, the weight of cutting ties with family, but also exhilarating. For the first time, my life was mine alone, unshared, unclaimed. Each canceled transfer, each revoked credit line, each terminated service was a declaration. I am not here to finance your comfort. I am here to live my own life. Julien remained my steady anchor throughout. He guided, advised, and supported without pushing, letting me wield my newfound autonomy. He was proof that alliances could be chosen, that family could be defined not by blood, but by loyalty, respect, and love. By the time my parents and sister returned to Paris, they were forced to confront reality. There was no electricity, no water, the foreclosure notice was real. Célestine tried to apologize, clinging to the flimsy hope that tears could undo months of neglect. My response was calm but unyielding. You were careless when it mattered. Now, face the consequences of your choices. My mother's drama escalated online, attempting to portray me as a selfish child abandoning her family. But the truth had already been recorded and witnessed. Public opinion sided with me, colleagues, and friends. Even strangers empathized with the hospital posts and screenshots I shared discreetly, validating the reality of my experience. In those weeks, I realized something profound. Love and loyalty are not owed even to family. Generosity without reciprocity is a trap, and the courage to set boundaries is not cruelty, it is survival. I was no longer the daughter, sister, or caretaker defined by expectation. I was Aurélie Vasseur, a woman who had faced mortality, betrayal, and selfishness and emerged not broken but brilliantly alive. By the end of the first month post-discharge, I had solidified my finances, secured my independence, and regained control over my life. Every phone call, every message, every desperate attempt from them was met with calm, unwavering boundaries. I had reclaimed my power, not through vengeance, but through decisive, intelligent action. For the first time in my adult life, I slept without fear, knowing that my financial, emotional, and personal security was truly mine. I could walk down the streets of Paris freely, knowing that the weight of others' entitlement no longer rested on my shoulders. The city lights, once a distant, indifferent glow through hospital windows, now sparkled as symbols of my own hard-won freedom. My phone rang incessantly, 20 to 30 calls a day. Each time I blocked a number, they found another. A friend's phone, a public line, even the hotel where they had moved after losing their home. Every call carried a new tactic, anger, pleading, even threats of self-harm. My mother went so far as to report me to the Elder Protection Agency, accusing me of financial exploitation. I scheduled a meeting with a social worker, arriving prepared with evidence. Screenshots of cruel messages, social media posts, a meticulous timeline of events. She reviewed everything in silence, flipping through my documentation like a detective. Finally, she looked up and said, "This isn't abuse. This is boundary setting." Case was dismissed, and for the first time in weeks, I felt a small, bitter relief. Tension reached a breaking point when my parents attempted to infiltrate my workplace. They had tricked the building security and cornered me in the lobby. My father's voice was desperate, pleading, "Aurélie, just 5 minutes. Please." My mother's was theatrical, loud and accusatory. "I am your mother. You cannot abandon your family." I stood firm, a calm storm at the center of chaos. "These people are harassing me," I instructed security. "Escort them out immediately." The guards complied. The encounter was captured on the lobby's surveillance cameras, and soon the video began circulating among my colleagues. Shock quickly transformed into solidarity. They dubbed the day Aurélie's family was escorted from the lobby. For once, I was not alone, and for once, the world seemed to recognize the injustice I had endured. Meanwhile, Célestine, in her usual dramatic flair, posted on Instagram portraying me as unstable, a danger to herself, supposedly needing family intervention. But her post backfired almost immediately. Friends, colleagues, and even strangers weighed in, recounting my hospital ordeal and showing proof of her false narrative. Public opinion swung firmly in my favor, and within hours, the post was deleted. I had captured screenshots before its removal, adding them to the ever-growing archive of my family's manipulation. Amid this chaos, a beacon of light appeared. Lumière Technologies, one of the top tech firms in Paris, called me. They offered me the role of director of cybersecurity, double my previous salary, stock options, and the unprecedented chance to build the department from scratch. Their reasoning was straightforward. The security system I had designed had just prevented a massive cyber attack, saving millions in revenue and protecting critical data. I accepted without hesitation. This was the turning point, a tangible reminder that my skill, intelligence, and dedication mattered more than the chaos of my birth family. As I prepared for my new role, the contrast between my life and theirs became stark. Célestine had lost her retail job, unable to maintain even basic financial stability. My parents were now working part-time, constantly bickering in their cramped, rented apartment, a far cry from the leisurely retirements they had flaunted online. In a last-ditch effort to sway public perception, my mother created a crowdfunding page, claiming I was mentally ill and had abandoned them. But my colleagues, my partners, and even industry contacts knew the truth. They exposed her deception, sharing evidence of the hospital stay and the Instagram posts. The fundraising page was swiftly deleted amidst a wave of outraged comments and disbelief. Even as the external chaos of public opinion and financial manipulation subsided, the internal transformation within me accelerated. Each phone call, each attempt at manipulation, each failed scheme from my family reinforced a lesson I had been forced to learn. Love and loyalty are not owed even to blood relatives. Generosity without reciprocity is dangerous. Setting firm boundaries is not cruelty, it is survival. Julien remained my anchor throughout. He didn't attempt to control my choices, didn't offer empty platitudes. Instead, he supported me in building a fortress around my life, one step at a time. His presence was steady, grounding, proof that chosen alliances could be more genuine and reliable than those dictated by birth. With him, I found companionship and strength, a partnership that respected my autonomy rather than exploiting it. In the weeks following these events, I solidified my financial independence. I secured new accounts, severed all co-signing obligations, and confirmed that my parents and sister had no remaining access to any part of my life. Every attempted phone call, every email, every desperate plea from them was met with calm, measured boundaries. Each act of harassment only strengthened my resolve and clarified my understanding of who I was and who I was not obligated to be. For the first time in years, I slept without fear. I walked through the streets of Paris freely, feeling the hum of life around me, no longer weighed down by others' expectations or entitlements. The city, once an indifferent observer to my suffering, now shimmered with possibility. Every morning, I woke with a sense of purpose, no longer shackled to a family that had never been truly present. The paradox of my situation was striking. The very people who had tried to control, manipulate, and harm me had inadvertently provided the conditions for my liberation. The acts of betrayal became lessons in resilience. The cruelty of neglect became the foundation for self-preservation. The public absurdity of their schemes demonstrated the limits of manipulation in the modern world, where truth could be documented, shared, and validated. Through this, I realized something profound. Boundaries are not walls, they are lifelines. They are the line between being consumed by others' demands and choosing one's own destiny. By refusing to participate in their exploitation, I reclaimed my power not with vengeance, but with clarity, intelligence, and resolve. The life I was now able to build was not just free from interference, it was thriving, unbounded, and self-determined. And so, while my parents and sister continued to flounder in their small, precarious lives, I stepped into a reality I had designed for myself. A career I loved, recognition for my expertise, financial security, and the knowledge that my choices were finally my own. The world had finally acknowledged my worth, and I no longer needed validation from those who had once claimed it was their right to dictate my life. It was not just survival. It was renaissance. Every blocked call, every revoked account, every firm's silent refusal was a stroke in the larger picture. Me standing fully realized, radiant in my independence, unassailable in my autonomy. And in that truth, I discovered a calm joy I had never known, a victory that no amount of familial drama could ever diminish. I moved forward with purpose, each step a testament to the freedom I had claimed. Conferences called, and I spoke at international tech events, sharing my expertise in cybersecurity. My work was recognized in leading technology magazines, a validation I had long deserved. I bought a house on a hill overlooking Paris, its windows capturing the city lights like a living painting. For the first time, the space I occupied reflected me completely, without compromise or obligation. Soon after, I adopted Leo, a spirited dog whose joy and loyalty filled the quiet corners of my new home. And then there was Julien, my lawyer, now my partner, who had guided me through legal battles but also supported me emotionally. We began cautiously, building trust and intimacy gradually, discovering a relationship based on respect, laughter, and equality, so different from the manipulation and expectation I had endured all my life. Every morning with him reminded me that love could exist without control, without obligation, without hidden motives. 1 year later, I encountered my father in a small supermarket. He moved slowly, weary, clutching coupons and a small shopping list, trying to make ends meet. He looked at me with a humility I had never seen before. "I know we were wrong," he said quietly. "I don't expect forgiveness, but I want you to know I understand what we lost." I nodded, feeling a flicker of pity but no guilt. "Understanding is good," I replied. "But it doesn't undo the harm." I walked away, leaving behind the weight of their choices, knowing my own life had nothing left to do with theirs. 2 years later, Julien and I married in a small, intimate ceremony. Friends and his family surrounded us, a community of people who had chosen me as one of their own. Célestine attempted to intrude, her voice sharp and accusing, claiming I had faked my illness. Guards held her back, and no one paid attention. Margot, Julien's mother, hugged me warmly and whispered, "They lost you, but we have you." It was the kind of love I had always dreamed of, freely given, unwavering, unconditional. 6 months ago, I received a call from Bastien, my cousin. My mother continued to spread rumors that I had abandoned the family. Bastien reassured me, "No one believes her anymore. People remember the photos from Nice when you were in ICUs." He updated me further. Célestine now worked retail, my parents rented a small room, and my mother had even been arrested for theft, blaming me for everything. I felt no joy, no vindictive satisfaction, just calm distance. I had made my choice, self-preservation over chaos, clarity over manipulation. I did not forgive, nor did I reconnect. Some might call me cold or ruthless. Call it self-protection. I had learned that blood alone does not define family, and that cutting out toxic people is an act of survival and dignity. 30, I had everything I had longed for: a loving husband, a thriving career, a warm and safe home, and Leo, who adored me endlessly. Friends were present when I needed them. Julian's family treated me as their own, calling me daughter, sharing life and love without expectation. Sometimes I sit on my terrace, watching Paris glitter beneath the night sky. I think of the terrified girl in the ICU, fevered and weak, recording the messages that would eventually free her. That girl had made a choice: to prioritize herself, to reclaim her life, and to build a future unshackled by manipulation or neglect. That decision shaped everything that followed. True revenge was not hurting those who had wronged me, it was creating a life so full, so bright, that their absence was meaningless. They thought losing me was insignificant. In reality, they had lost something irreplaceable. And I had gained everything: freedom, joy, love, peace, and self-worth. If my story, from betrayal to empowerment, from trauma to triumph, resonates with you, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Let's celebrate the courage it takes to choose yourself, the strength it takes to cut toxic ties, and the joy that comes from finally living a life that is fully, unapologetically yours.